you're listening to Julie Taylor, and this is Julie and Company. Today my guest is Shelley Mizener. Shelley's been with us before. Shelley is a resident of Knowlton, born here, bred here, goes back a few generations, and quite a volunteer worker. Hi, Shelley.
Nice to be here.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
You look lovely in your pink shirt.
Yeah, well, pink is kind of my theme these days.
Yes, because the cancer walk for the BMP is coming up.
It is, yes. Been asked and requested to be the president this year.
Lovely. And what does that role entail?
Well, it's about sharing your story and hopefully with the idea that you'll inspire other people with your success of your story. Mm-hmm. Giving people hope. They're raising money for a new mammogram for the hospital this year.
And those goals can be reached, I imagine, because it's such a successful foundation and there's good people behind it and a community.
I have to give a lot of credit to the Optimist Group. They've done a really good job from one year to the next. Their numbers just increase, and the amount of monies that they raise actually grows each year. So it's quite impressive to see a group of women collaborate together and inspire other women. And also that's about them connecting together and realizing that they're not alone on their journey.
And also, going back to the fact that they're impressive and how they raise funds all the time, these are all private funds.
That's right.
Our community blows my mind.
Well, you know, my show is called Cultivating Community with Shelley and Cash. And oh, by the way, he is a co-host. It was very exclusive that they were inviting me to be president. It was a package deal.
Oh, yeah.
Because really it is the strength of this community, is the collaboration and the cooperation amongst so many people.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. From people who donate their time, who organize things. There's kind of this resilience in this community that transpires and has outlasted generations and generations. It's intergenerational to me, and it's so special.
Well, and I'm really happy to say, too, that our municipality is actually recognizing our volunteers. They're going to have an Oscar volunteer awards night for all of the local people that are stepping up, like all of these Optimist women who work totally on a volunteer basis to do this collaboration, and many others. And
yourself?
Yes, myself as well. And many hosts here at the CIDI Radio. All of our board members are volunteers, and all of our hosts are volunteers, yourself included.
So am I, yes. So, Shelley, you mentioned earlier how ladies realize that they're not alone in their plight. And they come together, and this whole sense of community is uniting people.
I've always been a leader. It was learned very young age in sports that we have a choice how we're going to look at our experience, whether we're going to play the role of the victim or the hero. And those were my mother's words. So I've always chosen to play the role of the hero and cultivate change. And through this experience, I've seen that because of my courage, other people can be inspired to be the best version of themselves and not play the role of the victim.
Yes. Shelley, for those who haven't already met you from another episode or from living here and breathing in Knowlton and seeing you everywhere, we understand that you were born a Mizener. Roots go back past 1711 from what I understand, because there's a marriage that's been identified between a Mizener and a Brill, you were just telling me, but also because your grandparents owned general stores.
My grandmother ran the general store on the local Four Corners, and we lived upstairs and was brought to the school in horse and buggy or horse and sleigh in the winter months. And because my grandmother did do deliveries to the groceries, I realized just how connected and how important the community is to each other.
And it's particular that you mention your mother walking with women, because women are, a very important part of holding a community together, whether it's a family, setting the tone, setting the heart in the community. It falls back on women. Men do play their roles, but women are so important.
I think from a very young age, it was ingrained in my brain that stewardship for your community was a really important play. My mother volunteered at Knowlton Academy teaching in the home ec, and my father was on the rink coaching the boys in hockey. Every part of the community was something that they could contribute back to. When you live in a village that you feel very privileged and you've had a life where you've benefited from all of these things, once you get to a certain age and you actually have the time to be able to give back, and we've seen that whether it be with the Optimist women or more recently the men's shed, then now we can see that the men are actually stepping up and they're contributing back. It's really about stewardship and pride of community.
Absolutely. You did mention very feminine roles and very masculine roles. Do you find that in a world that's quickly evolving into diluting those polarities, that Knowlton has a particular identity and sense of community because of the men and the women as men and women?
Good question. I think that being a single mom, I think I had to play both roles. So I really grasped the idea and the difference between what the men bring to the table and what the women bring to the table.
I do relate, by the way, Shelley. I've also been a single mom. And I always say, this is a parenthesis, I don't know if you'll find it funny, but there's the myth of being in a couple that a man would fix something. You know, occasionally it drifts through my mind that I'm opening a jar, and if there was a man in my life and he could open the jar, my life would be so much better. But that's a fleeting moment. But anyway, yeah, so single moms have to be the father and the mom wrapped into one.
That's right. That's it.
So you think character and resilience and doability, for lack of a better word, is essential for strong citizens regardless of their sex?
Totally. I think that we're actually in a period of time now where women are really stepping up more than ever. We're going to see the matriarch be the leaders in the change that needs to happen in the world right now.
And I do understand that taking a woman's role is important and having the courage to step up. Yet, women embody different values, or the feminine embody different values than men, don't they?
Well, I think that maybe it was because I've always been self-employed that I had a lot of balance in the yin and the yang part of myself, because I was self-employed and I was a single mother, so there wasn't somebody waiting to step up to be that other role person. But I think also too, when we take leadership roles on and off the field, and that being an retired athlete, those roles I learned how to play, that carries over into your personal life, even not consciously. Being the president here of the radio station, it's amassing all of those experiences that you learn over the course of your life, whether it be through business or whether it be through parenting and life, even all of those hardships, including the cancer. My most recent is radical self-love, where I've been taught to love the cancer and for everything that it brought me.
We could elaborate on that, and we will. So your life was fairly tumultuous, a single mom, a bankruptcy came along, and you had to redefine yourself or reinvent yourself. Do you want to tell me a bit about that?
I think everybody does that at some point in their life. I think we reach a certain age and we have an opportunity, especially if we get sick and our body stops us from being able to do what we have done our whole life. We had an opportunity to do some reflection, and we look at our lives and we assess what really matters for us. And with the bankruptcy, it was the first experience with cancer. I wanted to be the best version of myself, so food became a priority, which hence the garden at Knowlton Academy was created.
Yeah, there's a lot of projects around that. So there's been a moment where you couldn't just push through, from what I understand. You had to stop, you had to reflect.
Maybe get a little bit softer and get in touch with the feminine side, and not just be that strong super mom riding a Harley Davidson.
Yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but in that reflection, in that not being able to push through, you discover something greater than yourself that is also a place of safety and well-meaning, even if it's in the invisible world. And so I think there's this new relationship that develops, that we're not all controlling, that there is a greater force. And so that allows us to be more in our feminine.
I call it the art of allowing.
You call it the art of allowing.
And things unfold organically, including the Knowlton Players, which another show is coming up in November, where you get the opportunity to play and surround yourself with people who are highly creative and get roles that somehow fit parallels to your own life. Or in this case, the next one's going to be I'm a realtor, which is kind of funny because 18 years ago I did 17 years of real estate. So playing that character now, it completely changes my whole perspective on who and what I was back then.
So playing roles is an opportunity to heal parallel to your life, areas that might have been occulted and need to be revisited. And so as you navigate through those roles, you can bring a lot of healing.
Same thing with the radio host and cultivating community, realizing that in our experiences, if we've gained wisdom and we can share that wisdom with other people, it's a wonderful platform. It's cultivating community, and that's what this town is all about.
And connecting.
Exactly.
When you come on the show, I just feel like this wonderful energy where we can have a chat as women, and we don't need to tiptoe. We go straight from one subject to another. We're kind of bouncing around. And so let's bounce over to your healing journey. Parallel healing journeys, but a main one, because you were diagnosed with cancer.
Not just diagnosed. I had a double mastectomy in 2019, and by 2020, I was informed that I'd gone stage 4.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you mean there was a sequence, and that's why I go back to the diagnostic. A sequence. You decided to go for double mastectomy, and then you had to work through facing death again because you were stage 4?
First battle was and I don't even like to call it battles. First cancer experience was in 2006. My mom passed away of the same cancer diagnosis in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2006, I had cervical cancer, which was my first experience without doing chemotherapy or radiation, which is when my career ended abruptly because I ended up taking time off and was forced to find something else, which hence happened. The bankruptcy was following that.
A domino effect.
And then in 2019, I found a lump, and I elected to have a double mastectomy, even though there was only cancer on one side. I had 4 lumps removed, and 15 of the 16 lymph nodes were cancerous. Then in 2020, it metastasized on my chest as stage 4.
Whoa.
And that
must have been scary.
Well, I'll tell you what I told my oncologist. I said to my oncologist that I was a retired rugby player and that I'd played competitively until I was 51, and that fear was not in my vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
That I looked at it, it was a window of opportunity to explore a new box.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say box, it's because I believe that everything we lived is about boxes, from hospitals to schools to radios to TV. Now everybody taking their boxes with them everywhere they go. So I explained to my oncologist that I wasn't willing to do traditional chemotherapy and or radiation, and that I was brave enough, if I was going to be a guinea pig, it was going to be on my terms.
Right. So now where did you go and seek information to be the leader in your recovery?
Everywhere.
Tell me.
Well, you know, there's wonderful books. There's a lot of people who have already experienced it.
Any titles, for example, of books that were useful to you at the time?
One of my closest friends provided me with a book called I'm Sorry It's Cancer right away, which was really great because it wasn't just good for me, it was great for my family, because they were very much against the idea that I wasn't going to do what the doctor said and do traditional chemotherapy and radiation, which scared them more than it scared me.
Was there a time on this journey where there was some emotional healing before the physical healing, or parallel to the physical healing? You mentioned the book. I was wondering, did that book carry opportunity for you to be emotional privately with yourself?
I think there were many. Just prior to my double mastectomy, I was playing 2 characters in a play, Rosie the Welder and Rosie the Stripper. And I had my old coach sitting beside me as I was playing Rosie the Welder. And I looked over at him and I said, "Finally, Bob," I said, "people are going to recognize that my eyes are blue." And he laughed so hard, I decided at that moment that I was going to find all of the silver linings in the experience, because I journal, and I have journaled my whole life.
And was that an emotional moment for you to touch that?
Yeah, that was, I thought, how ironic that I'm playing the role of a real masculine character and a stripper, like the feminine and the masculine characters, the week before I'm having a double mastectomy. So that was the beginning, and then I started journaling, and of course the theater was offering a course on how to write a play, so I decided that I was going to sign up for that, and that I was going to write Shelley Lee is Cancer Free.
I like that. What a nice title.
Which will be performed before too long.
Yeah.
It's a project in work. It goes along hand in hand with the book. It's called A Wild Pony Ride, which is the journey that I've experienced. And the last chapter is called Radical Self-Love, which is where you actually learn to love the cancer for all of the wonderful things, including this radio station and the secret garden for the school and the walking with Cash, that I probably wouldn't have done.
So an attitude of gratitude
Absolutely.
allows you to keep your vibration healthy and so be inspired by the next leg of your journey.
I really like that word vibration. I think that it is very, very underestimated just how important our frequency and vibration is, including the radio, including music, and including our attitude, overall attitude. I think people grossly underestimate the body's ability to heal itself when it's given the right conditions.
Yes, so we were talking about healing. So wonderful books. You were teaching yourself how to be the leader in your recovery journey. What other elements did you turn to or gather to get those insights and to lead?
Well, I was very lucky. I have sisters that love me very dearly, so they would be the ones that were providing me with really good reading material, which I ended up sharing on my radio show. YouTube. I mean, if you're Googling and you really want to learn, there are a tremendous amount of doctors that are living outside of the box and that are not necessarily believers in the system and don't necessarily believe in the statistics and actually want to do more organic. And locally, we have phenomenal women. I mean, I was very pleased to find Mona, our acupuncturist, and she was putting needles directly in the wound, and within 24 hours I was healing. And I'd go back to my oncologist all excited saying, why didn't you tell me this before? And him telling me, I can't, but you can.
Yeah.
So exploring all of those different windows of organic healing that maybe might not be what Big Pharma wants you to know.
Right, so let's talk about them. There's acupuncture,
Massage, walking, fasting.
Walking in nature. We're talking about managing your vibration, elevating your spirit.
Frequency.
Yes.
Sound, the healing ability of sound.
Speaking of YouTube, there are many opportunities on YouTube to go get videos, because YouTube is a video platform, of megahertz music and different vibrations so that you can listen to it through the day or at night to help your healing, your body heal. There's a philosophy that your body will always lean towards healing if you can get out of the way.
Excellent. Well said. My four-legged friend was also, because he vibrates at a very high frequency and he's very therapeutic. Now, the official mascot at the local elementary school, which he goes and automatically and organically knows which children are on the spectrum. It's like a magnet. So when you have the privy of being able to witness that, it's in
it
the
reinforces.
Process. It validates what you're already doing.
Exactly. So even though you may be on the cusp of new things, and maybe it's not the general belief of the population, you get validation yourself through these little moments where you can keep going.
I explained to my oncologist that I was unique in the fact that my children were grown up and that my parents had already passed away and that I lived alone, and I'm a professional gardener by trade. So I grow my own blueberries and a lot of my own food. And I also had the discipline of an athlete. So I wanted to follow the stats. I wanted to know what my numbers were, and I wanted to know that if what I was doing, including the fasting and the walking and all of these things, were actually working in the process. And I have to say my oncologist was absolutely fantastic. He even gave me his cell phone number. So we're working with residents that are students that are learning. So I'm really outside of the box. So what I've done and what I'm learning, even though Big Pharma doesn't make a lot of money off of us, it is an experience where the drug that I am actually on was only supposed to work for 2 years, and I'm already in year 5.
Oh, well done. So you had to get a team together. But you had to make all those choices for yourself. And it comes with tremendous responsibility because you've got nobody to forgive but yourself. And that's the hardest person to forgive, right?
I think that I was lucky. My mom always used to say that my life was my movie and that I was the star and I got to pick my co-stars. So when a co-star didn't fit in the picture, whether it be a friend and or even a doctor, if it wasn't a good fit, I wasn't afraid to say, it's time to change it up.
Good. That's good on you. It's not easy. Were there moments of doubt? And you can't tell me no. I'm not going to take a no. What were moments of doubt?
I think that the miracles of life show up when we're open to that. So when you think that maybe, just maybe, you're not doing the right thing, usually if you're open to it, that internal conversation is very critical. If people think that it's going to, and this is really important, and I'm hopeful with this walk of cancer, being the president, it's a message that I can pass on. If people believe that it's going to be a battle, which is how it was presented to me
Yes.
from my original doctor, saying I was going to have a year of hell ahead of me and then I was going to have a black cloud over my head for the rest of my life. If you believe that and you keep reaffirming that, well, then that is how it's going to be.
Now you had to choose. You hear things, and then it's, if you are present, you get the option to choose. Do I want to go with this storyline, or am I going to edge a new one instead of this one, right? Everything's a loudspeaker of your belief system.
Totally.
So presence allowed you to say, I'm going to do some work here.
Well, in all fairness, she had experienced it herself, this doctor. And for me, it was like, oh yeah, watch me. The competitive side of me. And also, even within the system, it was maybe an opportunity for me to be able to share what that doctor had said to other doctors and saying, you know, maybe she's not the ideal person to be delivering the message because her wounds were still raw.
Exactly.
And going back to being that woman and being present and hearing it and recognizing that that was her story and not mine.
Yeah. Allowed you to write your story.
And I was like, well, you grossly underestimate this one because that's not my story.
So there was a part of you that was confident, but there have been doubts. How did you manage those doubts? Maybe you have an example.
I'm a cultivator of change. I engaged in something new, whether it was theater, surrounding myself with people, new people, I think was a big key.
That is so smart, new people. Because you're moving away from a situation that, you know, is, how can I say, compromising. Your health is diminished. So one of the go-tos might be, you know, if I'm going to create a new life or a new vibration, then new people.
Well, and the radio is a perfect example of that. I didn't have it in my, I got to do this agenda. My father had a radio show in his 80s because he thought it was really important that community radio continue, but that we keep our local voice, which I couldn't believe more in. So I decided that I would cultivate community. My father's favorite saying was the only thing in life you can be sure about was change, and either you were cultivating or it was happening to you. So it was happening to me. So there was my platform and my opportunity. And then I would have friends saying, it's so great that you've got the radio, you needed that. And at first I was offended, thinking I needed that. And what they meant was that it was a platform.
Hi, would you like to be on the show? Do you have any questions or ideas you'd like to share? Go to julietaylor.ca and leave me a message. Your father always said
it was a platform to be able to get messages shared at a bigger audience instead of just one-on-one with people, that my success story could help somebody else in their success story.
And here you are. And that's why I don't want to leave any stone unturned, because anybody listening who's also has some people around them that are going through this journey or might be looking at this journey themselves, what are the other elements? So natural healing parallel to traditional medicine, trying to have a frank discussion about where you want to position yourself in your healing with your doctor, oncologist. I think that's important.
Very important.
Otherwise they lead
Very.
And they have many people in their roost, so you may not be a priority. You have to make yourself your priority, correct?
Totally.
So from there, I understand that you had some people at the CLSC or people taking your blood work, and you had a clear vision that you needed to know what was going on in your body to stay on top of what you were administering and doing to your body.
Absolutely. I mean, the teamwork in the community is so strong here, from the receptionist that was at the CLSC, who was on a first name basis and making sure that I had the paper or I was at the right time or whatever, and making sure that I made my appointments on time or that the nurses had whatever documents they needed, to the pharmacy here who told me about how I could look for my cancer count. Like, my oncologist never even brought the subject up, and she was like, well, you know, if you have your blood test, if you look for this number, you're going to know. Well, when you're stage 4, your cancer count's 122, and what they don't tell you is normal is under 30. So I was on a mission that I was going to take that number, and I had a sister who was willing to keep the stats because they were taking my blood every month. And I said to my oncologist, you're not just going to look for the red and white blood count, you're also going to look for the cancer count. And he says, oh, we don't follow that closely. I said, maybe you don't, but I'm gonna. Yeah. And so I did, and religiously I could see it going down from 122 to under 30 for an extended period of time. And he was like, wow, That's why I have his cell phone number, I'm sure.
Yeah. And Shelley, this information, had you not had the curiosity to find it or to talk to the right people, without that information, it would have felt like roulette.
You know, my parents told me that every person that you meet you'll have an opportunity to learn from them. And you'll only learn if you're willing to listen. And so I could see within this community there were so many people that want to help, want to be the difference. And so being open to that and being receptive to that and being willing enough and courageous enough to take those changes and be the difference.
And so knowing that you were looking for a particular blood count gave you the stamina to measure your results and to go all the way to the finish line.
Exactly.
Which is, the rebirth line in this case, not the finish.
No, and I mean, I've written the first book, which I'm really kind of excited about, but I anticipate that there'll be many more.
That's lovely. So Wild Pony is well, hold on, I just want to make sure. So your blood work you had to stay on top of. You talked to your pharmacist and he gave you she gave you some really good information, but you could also Google if you needed.
Yeah.
All that information's there. That's how I follow my blood count, and we can have this conversation some other time, but hormones, hormone replacement therapy, healing, health. There's so much for women to dig into, reach their potential and wellness. It's infinite. So anything else we might have not touched on that was part of your healing journey? Eating, fasting?
Knowing where your food comes from, I think, is very critical.
Yeah.
I'm very privy. I grow most of everything that I consume, so I have the lucky ability to be able to know exactly where. But locally, we've seen it's really increased astronomically, where you can go to your local farmer and get the fresh eggs and get the meat that's grown locally or grow tomatoes. And people have gotten back in touch with Mother Nature, which is really wonderful, and the wanting to learn to grow. And our educational system has now incorporated the garden into the curriculum, into the garden, so the children are actually learning themselves where their food comes from and that it doesn't come from a box.
So important. So important. Journaling, you mentioned.
Yes. I think that writing validates what you're thinking. I think that when we think positive and we actually put it down into words, that we believe that we're on a path in the right direction, that we're validating it by writing it down.
Sometimes when I've used journaling, I find that whatever is preoccupying me, whatever is negative, I can leave it on the page. And if you don't put it somewhere, it turns in your head, and it does affect your frequency.
Yeah, you can leave it on the page, and you can actually burn it too.
Yeah, exactly. So then journaling and a good support group.
Very much so.
Wonderful. So quickly, the March for Healing and Cancer. I can't say the March for Cancer. I know that's what it's called, but I have to say the March for Healing Cancer is from the Brome-Missisquoi region Foundation.
It's the ladies Yamaska Optimist Club that are organizing it with the BMP Hospital.
And it's usually in October?
Yes, I believe it's October 5th this year.
Right, and every year there is a march.
That's right, and they usually have a specific purpose. They're raising money this year for the mammogram, but my mission, I want to change the food in the hospital. Mm-hmm. I believe that we are what we eat, and after getting toast that had been toasted the night before after a double mastectomy, I can see that there's definite room for improvement, so I'm going to use my voice, and I'm going to make sure that in the future, that being that we live in such an incredible community and that there is abundance, that there's no reason why we don't change that.
And Shelley, I can imagine it's going to go really well. However long it takes, you're going to succeed at that, and the community is going to succeed at that, because I found out from the general director of the Brome-Missisquoi Foundation now that the hospital used to be a hotel. And it's through the voice of its community at the time that they sought to convert it to a hospital, because there was a need for health in the region and in the community. So it has this spirit. It is born also from the people, for the people. And so I imagine there's nothing but success in its future.
And I have no doubt that I have a very good relationship already with the BMP, as they sponsor my radio show.
So, Shelley, thank you again for taking the time.
My
having
pleasure.
A chat with us. And What shall we wish each other?
Happy trails.
This catchy, positive, upbeat pop song by Fred Bound at Free Music Archive is licensed CC BY.